Hello and welcome to a special video of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is February 26th, and today I want to show you my favorite winter pullovers and cardigans. This is a special video. You can already see that because I'm standing and not sitting, and I did a video like that last year with my favorite summer tops and pullovers, and I promised I'll do a video with the winter version of that, and never got around to doing that, so that's what I'm doing now. And I'll start off with this pullover, which I think is my absolute favorite pullover I've ever knitted. And one reason I love it so much is because it's knit out of a fingering weight sock yarn, so it's fairly light, it's still warm. I love the colors, and I love the fact that this is a glitter yarn, so there's some silver stellina in the yarn. It's not too obvious, but I still love it a lot. And the pattern I knit is the Flux Pullover by Tin Can Knits. It's a free pattern in their simple collection. The only thing I changed is for the neckline, instead of knitting the ribbing in the round, I knit it to and fro and then knit it in the round after the ribbing. Back when I knit the pattern, they hadn't designed short rows or written a pattern for short rows for the pullover yet. And I didn't like the fact that the front tends to sit fairly high, because the front and the back in my pullover are the same. So it's not very high in the back and quite high in the front. But with this split ribbing, it's perfect. It's not too high. Excuse me. So I'm really happy with the fit of the pullover. The sleeves are long enough, and the pullover itself is not too long, and it's wide enough and everything. So it's just a very comfortable pullover that I love to wear all the time, especially on holiday. This is my most worn pullover when I'm traveling. Yeah, so that's pullover number one. And I decided to always show a pullover and a cardigan together, so I don't have to take things on and off too much. This cardigan is originally, you start this cardigan with the hood, and then you knit downwards and you add the pockets as you go, which is one of the main reasons I wanted to try this pattern. It's out of the book, something like Knitting in the Round. I can never remember the real title, but I'll link it underneath the video. And the cardigan itself, I think, is fantastic. I was not happy with the hood at all, so I cut it off and I knit a new hood. So the hood, the way you see it, is not the one that's in the book, but it's a very simple square one. I put this bead and the tassel at the tip of the hood just because I thought that was funny and I like it. I knit the cardigan out of 6-ply sock yarn by Opal. So most of what I'm showing you today is knit out of Opal yarn, which calls itself sock and pullover yarn. So it's absolutely okay to knit pullovers and cardigans out of that yarn. And it's easy to care for because you can wash it in the washing machine. It has all those bright colors that I love. So the pullover was a 4-ply sock weight yarn, and this is the 6-ply yarn, which is like half as much again as the 4-ply yarn. And yeah, and with the new hood, I love it. The pattern in the book has a zipper, which I am not very comfortable in sewing into garments, so I decided to use these what do you call these? Snaps, I think. I like them a lot. They're quite big. I know a lot of snaps are smaller, but these are fairly big and you can sew them onto things. And yeah, love that. It's easy to close and open. I love the pockets. They're not really very big, but they're enough to put a tissue or something in there. And yeah, so this is the first cardigan I'm showing you today. By the way, I have noted when I knit everything, I'm not giving you the exact dates, you can look them up on Ravelry, but the pullover is from 2019 and the cardigan I started in September 2018 and I finished it in January 2020, especially with the hood getting knit twice. It took me quite a bit of time. Okay, now I'll just quickly go and get changed and then I'll be back in a minute. Now, the second pullover I'm showing you again is opal sock and pullover yarn. It's again a 6-ply yarn. And the pattern, and it's also a top-down raglan pullover, just like the first one I just showed you. But this time I used a different pattern. I used the pattern Raglano by Nicola Susan, and it's another free pattern. And those are the two patterns that I love to recommend for a first pullover because both patterns are free, both patterns are fairly simple to do, and yeah, I think you learn a lot when you do these pullovers. I again changed something with the Raglano. It's the pattern calls for just stockinette stitch, so it's even simpler than knitting it in a ribbing. And also with the Raglano, you start knitting to and fro, not in the round, but and then you increase for the neckline. But at some point you cast on a certain number of stitches and then you knit in the round, and I changed it so that I kept increasing at the edges until I had all the stitches that I needed, and so I have like a very tiny v-neck. Yeah, so that's not in the pattern, but otherwise I think I followed the pattern, as I said, except for the ribbing. But I wanted a pullover just completely in ribbing, just for the fun of it, to try it out, so you don't have to add another ribbing at the edges, or the edges won't roll. Again, this is a very simple to knit, but also simple to wear pullover. It's quite a loose fitting one, which is something I like. It's more comfortable than if they're too tight. I sometimes knit pullovers too tight, probably because I'm too lazy. I don't cast on enough stitches. I don't know what happens, but yeah, this one is fairly loose, has again rather long sleeves. I tend to have my sleeves too short because I'm impatient. Yeah, but this one, it really worked out really nicely. I'm very happy with that pullover. It's the second time I knit the Raglano. The first one was also knit out of a 6-ply sock yarn, and I knit most of it in stockinette, but then added a sort of lace pattern at the lower edges of the sleeves and the front and back. I also love that one a lot. So it was really hard for me to pick my favorite pullovers and cardigans because it feels like most of my pullovers are my favorite ones. So I was really trying to, yeah, just pick a few so that the video doesn't take all day and so that I didn't have to bring all my clothes here. Okay, the cardigan I'm wearing with this now is the Harvest cardigan. This is another free pattern by Tin Can Knits. Basically, it's another top-down raglan, but with a bit of a different start to it. And of course, it's not knit in the round because it's a cardigan. It's also from the Simple collection, like the flax pullover. And I knit it out of an 8-ply sock yarn by Opal. So it's like double the thickness of the 4-ply. And yeah, it's the colors are quite close to the one in the pullover. It's just that there's more blue in the pullover and less blue and more gray in the cardigan. So that's one of the reasons I like to wear them together. I don't really wear those two together a lot because it's really warm. But I could, and that's great. The Harvest cardigan in the pattern, I think, doesn't have any buttonholes or buttons. So you can just wear it open like this, or you can put a clasp or a needle or something. But you can add as many buttonholes as you like, and then sew the same number of buttons onto it. I went with one button just to keep it closed a little. It's fairly long, so I don't mind it being open down there. Yeah, what else can I say? The pullover I knit in 2000, I started at Christmas 2021, Christmas Eve, and then finished it in March 2022. and the Harvest cardigan I knit in 2019, and I think that was the first knit along I ever did on this on my YouTube channel. So that was interesting, and yeah, really enjoyed that. Okay, I'll just quickly go and change. Now this is another pullover knit out of 4-ply sock yarn, a single color for the main color, and then I use colorful yarns for both colors of the gnomes and also the little mushrooms down here. I have several color work pullovers that I really like, so again it was hard to make a decision, and to be honest I picked this pullover because it goes best, it goes well with the cardigan I want to show. Otherwise I could have showed the Lanatus pullover that I knit recently, or my snowflake pullover, which I love a lot, but I tried to only pick one out of each category. So this is the color work pullover that I'm showing. It's a pattern by Sarah Shearer. It's called Go Big or Go Gnome, and it's one of her many gnome related patterns that she's designed. You know, I knit lots and lots of gnomes, and so I felt I really wanted a gnome pullover as well. And another special thing about this pattern is that was the very first time I ever used the leatherback jacquard method to knit color work. So because there's quite some space in between the mushrooms, I cast on some additional stitches, that are these stitches here, and I purled them in the color I wasn't using at the moment. So it makes it a bit thicker down here, because you not only have the normal floats, but you also have those additional stitches. But because of those additional stitches, your floats don't get too tight. So this part of the pullover is really very flexible because of those additional stitches. And it's a good technique to know. I'm not the biggest fan of it. So if I had a choice, I'd rather pick a pattern that doesn't need the leatherback jacquard stitches. But if for some reason I wanted motifs that are far apart, I now know how to do that. Yeah, so that's a pullover, and the cardigan I am wearing with it now is the Hexagon crochet cardigan. It's the only crochet cardigan I'm showing today. This was another knit along or crochet along I did on this channel, and I also filmed a tutorial video to show how to crochet a cardigan like this in any size you like. For this cardigan I again used the 6-ply or piled sock yarn, and I used two different colorways. One colorway was red with blue and the other one was blue with red, and it's again a fairly long cardigan. I put a little pocket here by just crocheting a square, and I think I added 2 rows to make it a little bit longer, and then I just sewed it on top of the cardigan. Yeah, what else to say about that? I don't know. It's one of my favorite cardigans. I wear that a lot when I'm at home. I usually wear either the orange cardigan that I showed first or this one. They are like in constant rotation at home. They usually hang on top of some chair, so I can just grab it and put it on when I'm a bit cold, and then I take it off again because I get too warm. Things like that. Yeah, another favorite piece of mine, and I'll go change again. I just realized that I haven't told you when I knit the last 2 pieces. So the gnome pullover I knit in 2022, and the Hexagon cardigan was crocheted in 2023. And the reason I'm telling you when I made my clothes is so that you know for how long I've had them and how much time I've had to wear them, because that's why they become my favorite pieces, because I've had some experience with them. I've washed them at least once or twice, and so I'm not showing anything that I finished within the last few weeks or months, but wanted to show you things that I've actually worn quite a bit. Now, this is the first pullover that's not knit out of sock yarn, and it's knit out of mohair silk, which is another material that I just love a lot. And in the summer video, or the video with my summer favorite summer clothes, I showed a pullover that was knit in a single strand of mohair silk, and I love that pullover. And this pullover is knit out of 2 strands of mohair silk. So it's, can't really say it's a bit heavier because it's still so light, but it's a bit warmer than the other one. So this is more an autumn, winter, and early spring pullover. I used 3 different yarns for this pullover. So the main yarn is the one that I held double for this section. Then here I held 1 strand of this yarn and 1 of a slightly lighter yarn with some glitter in it. And then for the bit down here, 1 strand was this color and 1 strand was a slightly darker yarn, also with some sparkle in it. And the pattern is called the Verse Sweater from a book. Again, I forgot the title, but I will link it underneath. Yeah, so this is also one of my favorite sweaters because it's so easy to wear. It's, again, fairly loose. It's very light. It packs very small. It's, again, another pullover that I love to take with me when I'm traveling. And I can wear it on top of a dress or on top of a top or a t-shirt or whatever. I can wear it underneath the cardigan, so it layers well. And I personally love the feel of mohair. I know that a lot of people can't wear it next to skin because they're sensitive to mohair, but I'm not, so I can wear it with very little underneath or a lot like today. And I am pairing it with this cardigan, which also is not knit out of opal yarn, but it's the only piece I am showing today that's knit out of Noro yarn. Noro is a Japanese yarn dyer who has a very special sense of color and who always uses very good materials. So this cardigan is knit out of the Noro Silk Garden Light. Silk Garden yarns are always a mix of wool, mohair, and silk. It's a very, very nice combination. And the pattern I use for this cardigan is the swirl. There's a book called Knit Swirl. I'll also link it underneath. And all the cardigans in that book have sort of the same construction, but they vary in their forms and details. And this was the second swirl I ever knit. I don't have the first one anymore. I gave that away. And I used to have 3 cardigans knit out of Noro yarn, but I gave 1 away, so I still have 2, and this is one of them. And this is also one of my all-time favorites because I just love the colors, I love the yarn, and I really love the unusual construction and the way this looks. And I know there are some cardigans out there where you just knit a circle with 2 holes and you add sleeves, and that's nice too. It's a lot easier to make, but I used to have a cardigan like that, and I felt that it tended to slide off my shoulders. But with the swirl, because you have this seam going up, down one sleeve, and then up around the neck down here, and then to the other sleeve, this seam sort of makes it sit better. So I feel this doesn't slide down my shoulders so easily, and I can put the collar back like this, so it's a fairly open cardigan, or I can pull it up to have a nice and warm neck, even if I'm not wearing a scarf. I could use a clasp or a needle, and I could either fasten it here, and I can wear it like this, and I like the look. Or you could, if you wanted, if I want my neck to be warmer, I can pull it up like this, and I can put the clasp here and wear it like this, and then again it looks different. And yeah, I think it's a very special cardigan. I know my sister wants to knit another swirl, and she's waiting for me to join her so that we can knit together. So I think at some point in the future we have to knit another swirl cardigan. Now, the Glitzerverse sweater was knit in 2021, and my swirl cardigan I knit in 2013. So this is the oldest piece that I'm showing today. It's almost 12 years old, but I think it still looks really nice. Of course it pills a little, but that's normal if you have natural fibers in your garments, but I don't mind the pilling at all, especially if it's only a little like here, but even if it's small, I have old pieces that pill a lot and I still wear them because I don't care. As long as they're comfortable and warm, that's the most important thing for me. Okay, last change. So this is the only crochet pullover I'm showing today. I have several crochet pullovers that I all like a lot. One of them is crocheted in one piece, which I think is fantastic, so you don't have to sew anything. One of them was crocheted in many, many pieces and then crocheted together, or sewed together, I don't remember. But this pullover is actually crocheted in pieces, and because this was a test crochet, I was allowed to test the pattern for the designer, Heather Griffin. I had to follow the pattern exactly, so I crocheted 4 different pieces. But the interesting thing about this pullover, one of the interesting things about this pullover is you don't sew the pieces together, but you crochet them together. And you crochet from the outside and have this intentionally visible seam. And so I really enjoyed doing that. I prefer crocheting together to sewing together. There's a slit at the side, but then the pieces are, you crochet around those pieces as well. So it looks really nice, and you crochet around the neckline. And the other interesting thing about this pullover is we're back to opal sock yarn, and the colorful yarn I use in the pullover is a 6-ply, but the black is a 4-ply. So I'm holding the 2 yarns together. It's like a 10-ply then. So that makes it really nice and thick and warm. But also the effect of the thicker colorful yarn and the thinner black yarn, I think gives it a really special look that I like a lot. And then for crocheting together, you only use the 4-ply yarn. So the seams aren't as thick as the whole pullover. And I think that's it's a really good idea. And I think could be that for the edges around the neck and around the sleeves and at the bottom of the pullover, I think I held the yarn double. But for the seam, I'm pretty sure I held it. It was just a single strand of yarn. Not too sure anymore, but that's what I think I did. And I liked the effect so much that I kept thinking I want more either pullovers or any garment with this effect. So whether I crochet this pullover again or I knit or crochet something else, but the idea of holding a bigger yarn that's colorful and a thinner yarn that's a single color, or you could probably turn it around as well if you wanted, but I think you could get interesting effects if you use a white yarn with a colorful yarn, or maybe a neon color thin yarn with some thicker yarn. I think there are many possibilities that I haven't tried out yet. So the last garment for today is this cardigan, and again this is not opal sock yarn, but this is Filda Partner 6. And this is a yarn that I used to sell in my shop. I'm not doing that anymore. And when I decided I wanted to knit this cardigan, I chose this yarn because the gauge was perfect for the pattern. The pattern is another free download from Ravelry. It's also part of a book. So I knit it out of a book, but then later realized that you can get the pattern for free on Ravelry. And at the time when I started the cardigan, I realized I didn't have enough gray or enough black to do a single color cardigan. So that's why I decided to use 2 colors. The original pattern uses 1 color. So I did everything that was in stockinette in the gray, and everything that was in the seat stitch, I used the black. So all the edges are in black. And I really love this big shawl collar. The cardigan doesn't have any buttons or anything. So again, you can use a clasp or a needle if you want to close it, but it's also very nice to wear open. It's still quite warm. And with all the many colorful things I have, sometimes it's nice to have something in more neutral colors, so it's easier to combine things and to wear things together. So every now and then I try and knit something in a single color or in a more neutral color. So that are my favorite pullovers and cardigans that I have knit in the last couple of years. Things that I have worn quite a bit and that I'm really happy with how they turned out. These are patterns that I like to recommend, that I know work well. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!